Hi everyone, welcome back. Welcome to another session of navigating SAP and specifically SAP EWM in this section. Today we're going to talk about uploading storage bins. So as you all know, when you're setting up a new EWM warehouse and a new system, it's very important to define the warehouse structure, and among very basic activities that need to be done is to create the storage bins. The storage bin is a unique place in the warehouse, uniquely identified by a unique name. So first of all, the warehouse number representing the warehouse, then storage types representing areas within the warehouse where you can store goods that behave in the same way. For example, the storage type with the rack where you can place your goods in a rack, or the storage type on the ground area where you have one big area on the ground where you can place the goods, and other kinds of storage types. Each and every storage type can have one or more storage bins, and the storage bin is the unique location, the unique place where you can store goods. So basically, once you place the goods in the warehouse, they must be in a specific bin, and the specific bin name is unique. Therefore, if the system tells you, hey, you have 100 kilos of product A in bin 0010, 01, 02, 01, you know exactly where to go to find that bin and where that 100 kilos of product A will be. So creating storage bins is a fundamental part of setting up your warehouse. And if you have a big warehouse, as it often happens, you have thousands of bins. It's not realistic to create them all manually. I mean, you could, it would take you a really long time. So how it usually works is that at the setup of the system, one key activity is to create massively the storage bins needed for the warehouse. And usually the mass creation is done using a file upload, meaning you prepare the data of the bins in a file and then you upload the file in the system, and the system automatically creates the storage bins starting from the information in the file. In EWM, it is also possible to customize bin templates within the system and have a specific logic of how bins should be created within a storage type and not require a file upload. Nevertheless, my personal advice, and based on my personal experience, I do prefer to upload using the file because I have the freedom to set up my own data, to add more data in the file. I have better control over the actual data creation and any data update or change as needed before uploading the file in the production system. So how do we do this file storage bin upload in EWM? Let's have a look together. First things first, we are in our SAP S4 system with EWM. This is the SAP menu, this is the EWM folder, and as I open that folder, EWM, I can start searching here for the storage bin upload. Now this is upload of data, and I believe it's gonna be in either the settings or the interfaces. I believe it's in the interfaces, exactly. Data upload, load storage bins is right here, and the transaction is /SCWM/SBUP, which stands for storage bin upload. All right, let's enter the transaction. Great, so what we see here is that we are able to load the storage bins. We can provide a file to upload, and it could be a local file, or it could be a file on the application server, on the SAP system itself. We're going to use a local file, so I have a file saved on this computer that is running the SAP GUI. And here below we will see the storage bins that were loaded from the file, not yet created in the system. The successful changes, so successful bins that were created after the file upload, and any failed change, upload, creation to the bin from the file. Okay, so right now, as you can see, there's nothing loaded, meaning we did not upload any file yet, and indeed we need to select here the file name. Now I want to do it a little bit different. Of course, I do have the template for the storage bin upload. I do have the file, I know the format, I know how the file should be structured. But oftentimes, in my experience, when I was younger and I was starting out and I was given these tasks, right? Oh, upload the storage bins. And not always the senior consultant or the solution architect had really the time to follow me. So Milos, the junior consultant, would go here and might struggle searching either on the internet or asking the colleagues, hey, do you have the file template? And maybe the file template is there, but it's not working. So I want to give you the real experience. So let's assume that I don't have that file. Now, if I don't have the file format, one very, 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 very powerful tool and skill I have at my disposal is debugging. As you will discover, I will do more videos, and I'm sure I'll demonstrate debugging in a few more videos. I find debugging a very powerful skill because you can really enter the system and see all the details inside and really understand what the system is doing. At the same time, whenever it's used, just be mindful because it's time consuming. So basically you're investing your time into understanding all the details, and you really should focus on getting the solution or the information you need as quickly as possible. You could literally take hours and hours of debugging before you figure out what's actually happening. That being said, before I start debugging to try and understand the file format, I would create a new file. Probably I would put some random data inside just for the sake of having some data, and then I would try upload that file knowing that it will fail. It will fail because clearly it's not going to be the right format, but at least it will enable me to debug and gain perspective and understanding of what the code is doing, and hopefully understand inside the ABAP code of SAP what should be the right format of the file. So let's start. Let's create this file and let's get ready for the upload. I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to start with a CSV file. CSV stands for comma separated, and it means it's a file with data where every piece of data is separated by a comma. So data, comma, another data, comma, another data, comma, and then you can go a new line, which means you have a new row of data. Okay, so let's create such a file. Usually when I want to create it from scratch, I can create a text document. I can write testmj storage bin upload. Okay, and instead of being a txt file, I'm just going to change the extension. I'm going to put CSV. Are you sure you want to change the extension? Yes, I'm sure. Great. So, and now in this file, what I will do is I will just put some basic data just to have something so I can see it in the debug. I'm going to do 2 lines, very simple, 3 data points. I'm going to put A1, comma, A2, comma, A3, comma, new line, B1, comma, B2, comma, B3, comma. I'm going to save this. And Milos, junior consultant, will now figure out using debug how the transaction works and what should be the file format to be uploaded. We're back here at the transaction, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the file. And where is the file? It's in my desktop. It's testmj storage bin upload. I'm going to select it. Let's first try upload before I even debug, right? I expect an error message because I don't think I got the right format. Upload. Are you sure? Yes, you can access this file, no problem. Allow. Errors occur during processing. See log for details. Okay, let's check the log for details. This is good because it's as expected. Let's see if there's any additional information here. The following messages were determined for data of row 1. Warehouse B1 is not a valid warehouse. So that gives me a tip that maybe the very first information I need to provide is the warehouse number. One thing that I'm curious or confused about is the following messages were determined for data of row 1. Now my row 1 in my file is A1, A2, A3, you remember. But here in the message log I see warehouse B1 is not a valid warehouse, and I'm wondering, the data with B is in the second row. Why is it telling me that the row 1 is wrong? So something is off here. I don't know how it works. From the log itself, it would be hard to guess exactly what to change in the file. I could do some tests, but maybe just by doing a little bit of debug, I will be able to better understand what should be the right format of the file. I will now enter the debug and have a first look and see how to proceed. So that being said, I click OK. In order to enter debug in SAP, you put a /h in the main bar where you put transactions. You press enter to activate the debug. You see debugging switched on, and therefore whatever I do now, instead of just executing, it will open a debug window, and I will be able to debug and read the code as it's running and try and understand what the software is doing. So let's try upload the file again. Of course, I expect an error message, but at the same time also I will be able to debug. Upload. Debug is being triggered. Here I have my debugger mode on. I'm not going to explain now the details about debugging. If you're curious to know more about debugging, write debug in the comments and I'll make sure I post more videos about debugging. Now the first part of the execution, as you read here the code on the left, you see that it's PI process software input. So usually in the software, you have one part that is more working on the visual layer. So it's going to check which button was pressed, what should be executed, and then once it figures out what should happen, if there's some logic to be run, there's going to be a different call calling for the exact logic to be executed. For example, reading the file, trying to convert the data, trying to show the data, and finally it's going to go back to the representation layer, the GUI layer, the graphical user interface layer, saying, hey, present this to the user in this format, like this on the screen. Okay, so I'm not interested in the visual part. I'm more interested in the logic. So I'm going to try to move step by step forward until I reach a point where I think a logic thinking starts. And you will notice one more thing as I'm debugging, I don't read everything. You can lose a lot of time when you start debugging. My objective is to understand the logic of what's the file format I should be providing in order to upload the storage bins. Therefore, we're going to try skip this whole part of elaborating which button I pressed and arrive at the logic execution where hopefully we will find where the software is reading the file that I'm trying to upload. So I'm going to go step by step pressing F5. I'm going to press F5 on this module get cursor. Right now I'm here on the arrow. So F5. I have another call get cursor. I don't care about the visual part. F5, 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 F5. Move on, move on. And as I'm executing, you see here, I'm still on the cursor stuff. I don't care. F5. I'm not even reading. I'm just moving through call subscreen, still on the visual part. Upload LAGP. LAGP is how technically the storage bins are called, so it's all good, but I'm still on the visual side. F5, F5. Ah, nice. When you see this part of the code like case, OK code, it means what was pressed. What did the user try to do? I'm still on the visual part. I should skip it. But here you can see that the different logic will be triggered if you are saving, deleting, uploading. So I guess I was uploading, I will end up here. If I want to know, I can just click on what action I actually did, and it's saying I'm trying to upload, and therefore when I press F5 again, case OK code, it will go to upload, and it's going to say, oh, Milos is trying to upload something. F5 again, it's doing some valuation of some variables. Right now I'm not going to focus on that. Refresh, refresh. There's a perform here, which means a logic is going to be called here display file. So hopefully this display file is actually the logic that I'm looking for, that's going to be mapping the file to internal data of the software and then representing the data in the file, and hopefully understanding then what's the format of the file that the software is expecting. F5, 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 F5. I'm at the perform. F5 hopefully jumps in with the logic. F5. And here we are. We're starting with the logic and getting ready to understand all the details of how the file upload actually works.